The NBA Finals has a problem. So let's talk about what that is. So the NBA Finals game one just happened recently. And what came out after the game happened is that the game had the lowest ratings in quite some time. Like the ratings were not good compared to other finals matchups we've had in the past. And so a lot of people are, trying to figure out where the NBA went wrong, how they can, do it better and have this finals be more talked about and watched. Because even if you watch like some of the, sports analyst shows and stuff like that, they're really not spending much time on the finals. Like that's how you know that it is not generating the interest for whatever reason that other finals matchups has. Because I've seen more segments about the Knicks hiring a new coach or Giannis, which again, obviously are giant stories, but like the NBA finals are on and I have seen maybe like 1/6 of the segments be about the finals compared to these other subjects, right? So that right there tells you that there is some kind of, interest or whatever issue. So I don't think, like, there are things that people blame the NBA for that I don't think is their fault and there's nothing they can really do about it, or they try their best on. Like, you can't please everybody, everybody's a critic, and here I am right here critiquing, right? So I am just adding fuel to the fire, so to speak. However, I don't think there's anything they could do about the matchup. So what I mean by that is, some people are saying part of the reason as to why the, ratings are not as good is because the matchup. Two small market teams, Shea is, by a lot of people's standards a superstar, but like neither Shea nor Tyrese Halliburton have the cachet and bring people in the same way that, LeBron, Steph Curry do, right? So that is definitely one thing that, like, if LeBron and Steph Curry were playing each other in the finals, right? Obviously that's not possible because they're both in the West, but I'm saying like we know when those matchups were happening, the ratings were off the charts, like people wanted to see that, right? So that it definitely is a thing. But like the NBA can't control that, right? Like two teams that are in the finals are in the finals. So what I do think they can control, which is what I see the issue with, is how they have allowed it to play out. So what do I mean by that? So I watched the game just like everybody else, and I didn't realize, like I literally didn't realize after the game and someone pointed it out and I'm like, oh, that didn't happen. Wait, that's crazy. And what didn't happen was there was no national anthem played for everybody, unless I missed it. And there was no player introductions. So what I'm saying is, this is the NBA Finals. We don't get player introductions. We don't get the national anthem. Like, it felt like a regular game. It just felt like any other game. Like, there was nothing about how it was presented prior to the game starting that made it feel like it was a special game. Like, it was anything more special than a regular season matchup in January. And that is where I think the NBA is, faltering, I guess, if you want to say, like going wrong. Like these details, like the attention to detail, I feel like is not the way it should be. And again, everybody's a critic. It's really hard. Like, I'm not saying that everybody could do a better job. Like, I'm not saying that, because there are so many things that go into, being the commissioner or planning these things. Like, there are so many moving parts. So I am never one to be like, it's easy and, we could all do such a better job. Like, that is not my standpoint. But I feel like, especially the two examples I just gave, the national anthem and player introductions is not a difficult thing to incorporate. They've done it before. And like, it is something that makes the matchup more hyped up, more exciting. Like, we get to watch Shea walk in and hear the crowd cheer, and we get to watch Tyrese Halliburton walk in and the crowd probably boo, because they're in OKC. And the national anthem is just something that is like a universal song for America, the United States, that people gather around to listen to, and it gives them a different feeling. Like, you play it when you win an Olympic gold medal. They play, well, if the United States wins gold, when they're on the podium, they play the national anthem. And it just brings that certain like nostalgia, that feeling that like we're all getting together, that kind of thing, right? So, with that being said, like, I understand they can't do everything, and there are certain things that they are trying, to make it more exciting. But like, again, just still focusing on those two examples, if you want us to be excited about the matchup, then you have to make it feel like it is special. Like, in reference to the Super Bowl, the NFL, right? It's a completely different sport with different standards. Like, it's a one game, that happens in February. So it's kind of different than like a 7-game matchup where, the NBA is, traveling between cities, and basketball is a different sport. So I am not trying to compare apples to oranges, so to speak, but they always have special certain things that they have done in every Super Bowl that I have remembered watching. So they keep those traditions alive. So I don't know if this is a good example, so I'm sorry if it's not, but like, for example, before the game, we get to watch the coin flip, and the team calls heads or tails, right? And whoever, gets heads or tails or whatever decides if they want to have the ball first, or if they want to kick it first, or whatever, right? Again, I don't know if that's a good example, but that is something that we traditionally get to see every single year during the Super Bowl. We get to watch the coin flip, and it is one of the most exciting parts, honestly, of the Super Bowl, which sounds kind of crazy. Like, everybody wants to see, is it heads or tails? Everybody wants to see who gets the ball first. Like, people probably bet on that. Like, that is how much of a big deal it is. And it's just like a little fun, exciting thing. So I say all that to say, like, stuff like that, again, player introductions and the national anthem should not be optional. Let me say that again. This is my opinion. Again, my opinion. Player introductions and the national anthem before the NBA Finals game should not be optional. Because why not? What would be the reason preventing it? You have to get in another commercial? Let me not get myself in trouble here, but like, come on. We see enough commercials. Can we take 5 minutes and get the player introductions and get the national anthem at the minimum? Like, there's plenty of commercials. Let's I'm gonna get myself in big trouble here. So that's one thing. Another thing I know people have complained about is the NBA Finals logo not being on the court anymore. Now, I have no problem with the logo being like a holograph instead of like actually being a decal on the court, because players have said it's like slippery, and it kind of, if someone can get hurt slipping on it, I don't have no issue with it being off the court, but I don't see why we can't make a hologram. Again, the advertisers get their logos all over the court, and they're holographs, I think. Maybe they're actually decals, but I'm pretty sure they are holographic. Is holographic the word? Holograms, right? Are these holograms? I don't even know if this is correct. But we see I'm pretty sure these advertisements on the court are not actually on the court. So if that's true, why can't we have the NBA Finals logo being projected on the court? We have the technology. There's no excuse why the NBA Finals logo cannot be on the court if you were just making like a hologram. Again, I don't care if it's not a decal. I don't care if it's not actually on the court. That doesn't bother me, because I don't want someone getting hurt. There's no reason we can't project it on the court. No reason. Like, we have the technology. I can't hear anybody's excuses on that. I'm sorry. And then another thing I know people have talked about is the NBA Finals patches being on the back instead of the front now. I don't necessarily I can understand why people are upset at that. I don't necessarily have an issue with that, just because I feel like when I'm watching the game, I don't notice that as much, if that makes sense. Like, I feel like obviously on the front you would see it more and you would notice it more, but I feel like I wasn't paying attention enough. Like, it wasn't for me personally, me, as big of a deal having the patches or whatever moved to the back. Like, I didn't even realize when they did that. That's how much of it, you know, a non-issue it was for me. Like, I didn't make a difference to me, to be honest. So, but I can understand why people are upset about that. But for me personally, like, that didn't necessarily bother me. I'm more bothered about just the lack of specialness that is felt around not just this finals, because don't get it twisted, I know the viewership we're talking about is for this specific finals. I feel like this dates back to 2019-ish. I don't know if that date's correct. But like post LeBron Cavs versus, you know, Steph Curry Warriors, or Steph Curry with Kevin Durant Warriors, you know, not to just single these players out. Obviously there was teams on both sides, but post that, I'll say like the Warriors versus Raptors matchup in 2019, I felt like that had a lot of excitement around it too, because that was the crazy Kawhi shot and bringing that team to the finals. And like, that was like a really cool storyline too. So I'll say post that year, and I don't blame the NBA for like 2020 and 2021, because we all know what was happening in those years. So I don't blame them for the ratings or for anything not being, you know, super special around that time, because there were so many restrictions out of their control. So I have no problem with those 2 years being kind of like weird and not like special, right? Like, I feel like they tried their best with what they could, because remember they had like, for the playoffs, they had like those virtual fans. Like, I feel like they were trying things, so I have no problem with that. But we are in 2025, and obviously technology, you know, has gotten better in some ways, and, you know, some ways it's gotten worse, whatever, but we have the technology to do some really cool things. And I know the NBA has access to all of this. And like I said, we don't have any restrictions. We're not in 2021 anymore and stuff like that. To me, the lack of attention to certain details to make it feel special. It doesn't just have to be, you know, stuck to the player introductions and the national anthem, you know, that I brought up. There are other examples of this too. Like, it really just felt like another regular season game, and that's the problem. So I don't have all the solutions on how you make it special. Like, I can't answer all the questions. I'm sure you guys have some ideas in the comments. You can comment down below some of your ideas on how they can make it feel more special to us. Sure, I'm sure we can think of some things that happened, you know, back in the day that they used to do before games or during games or after or whatever. But like, I'm just saying, for 2 specific examples, like, at least we gotta get player introductions and the national anthem in there. Like, like, we have to get that in there. That's the bare minimum. Like, it just builds up the suspense for the matchup we're about to see. So I don't know. That's my opinion on that. So, someone said, what chance do I give the Pacers in game 2? I mean, they have a chance in every game, because they literally make these crazy comebacks. Like, no matter what the score is, they seem to come back. So the Pacers always have a chance, right? I would say personally, I think that OKC is going to win this matchup. Well, I do think they're going to win the series, but I would say OKC is going to win game 2. Like, there's no way, like, the same way that Denver won game 1 and Denver really shouldn't have. I know that's like a tricky thing to say, but like, OKC took a crazy foul for no reason, in my opinion, with like 13 seconds to go on the clock, and that just, it was the beginning of the end right there, right? Like, they kind of gave that game away at the end in game 1 versus Denver. So I'm not saying it's exactly the same that they gave this one away, but I do feel like they should have, you know, kind of won this game at the same time. And so I think OKC is going to win game 2. Pacers always have a chance, but I think OKC is going to win game 2. Somebody said, I believe in game 1, the Pacers had 20 turnovers. Yeah, in the first half, they had 20 turnovers, which is crazy. But here's the thing, and I said this in my live stream when I was talking about game 1 of the finals. People look at the 20 turnovers and they're like, oh, OKC should be up like 30. Well, this is why I said also, OKC did not play a great game. I don't know why some people are saying they did, because I don't think they played a great game. Because think about it. If the Pacers had 20 turnovers, how many fast break points do you think OKC should have? I paused so you can like answer, right? You know how many they had? 3. 3 in the whole game. 3 fast break points. You know how many the Pacers had? 6. The Pacers had more fast break points than the Oklahoma City Thunder, and the Thunder only had like 6 turnovers, and the Pacers had 20 more turnovers, and they still had more fast break points. So the Thunder only shot like 39% from the field. Like defensively, they're always good. Like, okay, right? Like they always play a good defensive game, but like offensively, that was not like OKC, their typical offensive game. So to me, the 20 turnovers was washed out with how poorly OKC played offensively. Like, and that's not to say it didn't have anything to do with Indiana's defense. Like, obviously they, part of the reason teams miss is the other team's defense. But what I'm saying is, like, I said at the end of the game, it was as if Indiana only had like 10 turnovers, like a normal amount, because it didn't matter because OKC capitalized on none of them. So it really didn't matter. And someone said, oh yeah, and Chet really did not play well also. Yeah. He didn't shoot efficiently. He only had like 6 points, 8 points, like not too many. Jalen Williams had like 17, but he was not that efficient. Shea was not even that efficient either, but I respect that Shea came out super aggressive, so I don't fault anything that Shea did. Like, he needed to be aggressive for his team. So I'm okay with him taking all those shots. He just wasn't the most efficient he's ever been. So I don't think OKC really played a great game. I think they played good. I don't think they played bad. I think they played good, and they obviously played good enough to win. But they didn't play great. Defensively, they're always great. And that's something that's really cool about OKC is, like, even when they're not having it going offensively, they still show up defensively, everybody. Like, 'cause for some players and some teams, like, when their offense is not clicking, it affects them defensively, not OKC. So defensively, we know they'll always be there, but offensively, they just, didn't have it going. So I expect them to win game 2, but I'm excited to watch the game. So thank you guys so much for watching this live stream. I hope you enjoyed, and see you next time. Bye!